introduce yourselves?
Cool. My name is Ray. I'm the drummer.
My name is Jurian. I'm the keyboard player and bass player.
Hey, I'm Bo. I'm the singer and the guitarist.
Awesome. So how long have you guys known each other or been a band?
For about 8 years now. I know Jurian a little longer than I do know Ray. And yeah, I started like before I was playing with these guys, because the band started out as a solo project in my room with just 3 big guitar amps at a crushing volume. And back in the day I was driving a lot, doing a lot of roadieing for friends of mine, and I made them a tape. And they said, well, this is so good, we gotta record something. So for a few years the band was a changing formation, and after a few years I met Jurian, I met Ray. Ray really wanted to play with us, because when I was playing with Jurian I was sort of switching between drums and guitar, and yeah, now we've been together for 8 years already and made a couple of albums.
Well, that kind of answered my next question, was like, how did you form as a band? But you answered that one already.
Cool.
So where did you come up with the name?
The name is it's got a bit of a family history. My dad used to be, or his fiance at the time she was called Aestrid. Unfortunately, she died, and he married her best friend. That was my mom, and yeah, for me that was sort of like, it's such a tragedy, but it's if she would have been here, then I wouldn't have been here, and it sort of made yeah, I don't know. I just liked the symbolism of that, and in the beginning, a lot of what Aestrid was about came from a very dark place, and but it's, yeah, I don't know, because it's for me, because of the name, it also has got some lightness to it. I don't know, it's a certain feeling.
Something similar happened with my family, actually. My mom's fiance before my dad also died. And then it's just kind of crazy how that happens, eh?
Tragedy.
Yeah, something beautiful comes out of tragedy.
Yeah.
So how long have you guys been playing your respective instruments?
I'm 37 now. I started playing when I was 12. Yeah, maybe earlier, on a Spanish acoustic guitar, but I didn't get it at the time and just threw it in a corner. And when I was 12, like, the hormones start raging, you get angry, and you pick up an electric guitar, and so yeah, I'd say 12. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I don't know, I was starting to play instruments. We had a guitar lying around at home, and there was a piano somewhere in the corner, so I always kind of played around a little with it, and I started taking lessons and stuff. And actually kind of the same what Bo had, was that I just, at a certain point, I didn't feel it anymore. I had to play these silly country songs and silly old pop songs, which my teacher just didn't get it, that I wanted to play rock music. But I couldn't explain yet, I was too young. Like I said, I wanted to play like this, I don't know how to, and so he came up with a Beatles guitar book. Didn't get that either. I can appreciate it right now, but so I played guitar, then I tried piano, also didn't like that because same problem. Then I went playing electric guitar. Found out playing in bands is actually really cool, and I think since I started playing with Aestrid, I started playing all kinds of other instruments as well, because we were at some point, even as a two-piece, we played shows, so I had to play bass guitar, keyboards, guitars, some percussion, programming, samplers. So that's what I'm doing right now, actually, and I really like that.
Yeah, so I think I played drums a little over 10 years now. used to play in a marching band when I was a kid, just for a couple of years. But I never really liked to practice. I always liked playing with others more. So I'm actually, I never play by myself. I always play with other people. It's just now since a year or two that I sometimes get myself to get into some lessons, but yeah.
So how has your music kind of evolved since you started as a band? Because obviously you went from a one-piece to a three-piece, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, it started out with this wall of noise with just guitars. Then I think with the years of the changing formation, it grew to a four-piece with a lot of keyboards also, and it was just this wall of guitars and synths, and it was when I think back, it was pretty tiring to listen to, but it was, I don't know, it just, we had to play it like that at the time. And I think with the three-piece, we can still make it sound big, but we also can make it sound like tiny. So it's more dynamic than when Aestrid was a four-piece or even a five-piece back in the day. So yeah, it's more dynamic range, I'd say.
So what has been your biggest challenge as a band?
Good question.
I think I have an answer to that, really. Well, I think a big challenge for us is since we know each other for a very long time, and we play a lot together. I think the challenge, well, it's not a challenge, but it's more like a goal, but that it won't ever feel normal. Like it always stays a challenge. I think that's our challenge. So that we keep rediscovering things, rediscovering ourselves, getting to know each other better, and I think that's our challenge. Or for me, that feels like that.
So you recorded your album in No Map or Address here in Ontario, and then you recorded the latest one also in Ontario. Is that correct? So how did you guys decide to record it here? Where did that idea come from?
The first, you mean the No Map or Address record? Because like the last one was also because of the first one. Where we met Bob Lanois and Glenn Marshall in Brantford, where we played a show during our first tour, and they had this incredible space where we played our live show, and they recorded our live set. We had no clue that they did that, so we came into the room next to the record, or like the live room, which was a studio, big studio room. And they were already mixing our tracks. So we were really like, wow, did we just play this? And it sounds like this. And they captured it so well. And we kind of fell in love with the room and the way they let us drive in the room with the car to unload instead of like stuff like that. It was a huge old rope factory. So we were like, wow, it sounds amazing. And Bob and Glenn really inspired us to, like that evening, so that actually when we decided to record there with them, and since then, we got everything going on. We fell in love there with Canada.
So you guys have played Ottawa a few times now. You played at different venues each time, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
So which one out of the ones you've played is your favorite so far?
Ooh, so far. No, in Ottawa, you mean, right?
Yeah, in Ottawa.
Maybe the record center. Yeah, so we're playing Targ tomorrow night. We've never played that before, so I
fun.
can.
You've played there before. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, I can't tell you anything about that yet. We've met some really cool people playing around Ottawa, which was I think the best thing so far. But the record center is just I don't know. It forces you to uh, play a little different. There's no big PA sound system, and you're just like John is such a cool guy, and the record center itself is really nice. So I think, to me personally, that's my favorite up until now. So who knows what tomorrow will bring? But yeah.
Yeah. You guys have any answer?
I think I agree. I agree with Ray there. I think.
Yeah, we played before at like last year we played at Prest. It's also a cool room, and the Cuff. We played there a couple of years ago.
It's for my show on Saturday. I haven't played there very long.
Yeah, Mercury Lounge was the first time. Yeah.
I haven't played the cup yet. I'm doing that on Saturday.
That's a cool little.
Yeah, I've seen shows there. I've never played there. So this one's more for Ray. From our Facebook conversation, you said that Canada kind of inspires you a little bit, and you find it like what was it you said? The country, its music, and its people keep inspiring you. Could you expand on that a little more, and maybe explain a bit what you mean?
Yeah, well, I think the main reason is like the fact that we get to travel here and play our music is already so you'd never expect to do that if if you just start a band or when you're a kid or whatever. So that at itself inspires you already to make the most out of it, I guess. And we've met so many people here that have been changing our lives, like Glenn Marshall, Bob Lanois. We've got a great friend, Lucas Simpson. He's from Kingston, and yeah, he makes all of this stuff so much easier and possible even. And I think personally that gives me so much energy to keep on doing this, even though it's really rough sometimes, and it's like, yeah, you have to start somewhere, right? So you just go and keep on it. I think that's what the most inspiring thing is. Apart from that, it really inspires our music as well. There's especially the latest record is as we've recorded that in Kingston, it's really inspired by the environment there and the surrounding areas, lyrically as well, but also I think a certain feel to a lot of songs will pinch through the songs, definitely, yeah.
So what is something about Canada that you find really weird or interesting compared to the Netherlands?
Really weird or interesting? Well, we always are amazed by the wideness of the country, of course, and like everything is so big, and also everybody's like really nice, really easy, approachable. Like we crash at so many places and nobody even bothers. It's everybody. You feel welcome instantly everywhere, and I think that's weird because that's not how it goes back home.
See, I
So
had
it's
the same
positively
experience when
weird.
I went to the Netherlands. Everybody was so nice.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So
When
yeah,
they were
maybe we only do that to
I
foreigners.
don't know, maybe it was different because I had a big jacket that said Canada on the back. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess so.
Anybody else?
Yeah.
I think what I find really weird in Canada, and I think that's also in North America, is like the way people drive. It's insane. I mean, on the highway, people just speeding up, braking, speeding up, going left, right. I mean, come on, just.
Well, you think Ontario's bad? I'm glad you're not in Quebec. You're twice as bad.
Yeah. I think, but I mean, it's a shame. We like in the Netherlands, we got these parts where you can drive 130 kilometers per hour, that goes fast. I mean, but that's because everybody just keeps driving on the right side, and it's yeah. I mean, you have to change the whole system to make that work. Otherwise, you just stay. I find it kind of funny to notice.
Yeah, weird. I don't know. There's nothing too weird for me, but it's just interesting and like everywhere where we tell our story, like people are interested. Like that, it's genuine, and that's really cool to see, and what keeps us going as well. Because yeah, also what Ray explained with people who let you sleep on their floors, and like otherwise we couldn't be doing this, and yeah, because like the whole coming out here and playing, that's all at our own expenses. Like there's no financial backup back home from a label or booking agency, but we save a bit money because we record all of our albums ourselves, so that gives us a bit more financial freedom to buy a couple of tickets and come over here. And like often back home, bands will tell us like, why the hell are you going to Canada? Like, yeah, you could stay home and get frustrated about how you're not going to make it in Holland, but you can also just go out there and expand your mind. And so that's the cool thing for me about Canada.
So what's the biggest difference between like the music industry or music scene between the Netherlands and Canada that you find?
I think in Holland it's a little more commercial. It's also smaller, so there are less radio stations. So there's less variety on the radio for sure. So that's all moved towards the internet. But I think it's sort of shifting everywhere. But over here we sort of when you go to a college radio station, like we get the floor for about 40 minutes. We could play a 40-minute set live on the air. Like that's not gonna happen anywhere in Holland.
No,
So that's really cool that all the college radio stations and the independent radio stations are still just doing whatever they like.
Yeah, for sure. Do either of you have anything you want to add?
Well, no, I'm not a big fan of the music industry at all at this point, because it's like so divided, like the commercial side of it and the ones who just have to figure it out themselves. So I think what I noticed, like what Bo was saying, like the Netherlands are a bit more commercial, but I also think that the difference in the Netherlands is a bit smaller. Like in Canada, I think there's more DIY going on than in the Netherlands, and that's also because in the Netherlands it's so easy to reach anyone you like, because it's such a small country, right? Which is also the hardest part, because once you tour the country, you can tour the country in a month and then you're done. And it's really hard to cross Europe because all these countries have their own rules and their own ways of booking and promotion. So you can't just go to Belgium or to Germany to play a show. You have to start over there again, even though if you're big in the Netherlands. So it's a kind of, I think the way you grow in the Netherlands is like completely different as in Canada, because once you're a little bigger in Canada, you can play for a year almost in Canada. You can play a lot of towns and a lot of shows.
That's the scariest part for me, is like a new musician here. It's like, holy crap, I have so much country to cover before I can even think of
Which
it.
is really awesome, because you can
like
start, and that's what we are trying to do as well, like to start from this part of Ontario and slowly expanding our our fan base and our friends and the towns we play and the towns we know. And you can't ever do that in the Netherlands, and even in Europe, like as a whole, is hardly possible.
Yeah, I think the whole difference between Canada and the Netherlands is really interesting for both, for you and for us, I think. But yeah, as they've kind of explained already, um, of course it's not a really fair. You can't really compare it to each other because when we get over here, we kind of like tropical, right? We're from another country, so it's always interesting. But there are so many local um, that we can find that are willing to and enthusiastic about working with us, and that's really cool. That's nothing you can find in the Netherlands because it's already so small. So everything that is going on is already either mainstream or like nationwide.
Yeah, the whole reason this Ottawa Sound started was I took a music course last year, and we had like music business and entertainment marketing and entertainment law and all that stuff. And I realized how kind of like small musicians in Canada are kind of screwed over a bit when it comes to like growing a little bit, because a lot of the promoters here in Ottawa, they'll book your shows based on how many Facebook likes you have. So like when both my bands started out, we lost out on shows because we didn't have enough Facebook likes, and then a lot of the smaller bands, they couldn't get interviews with like the Globe and Mail or the Ottawa Citizen or like big newspapers. So I was like, all right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a little bit on the business side of the band, and then I'm also going to do like the blog where I interview people and whatnot. And it's kind of working out. That's awesome. Because I know like a lot of the time they like there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that a lot of musicians aren't aware of. Like you got to register your music with this agency and that agency. You got to get it tracked by the government for when it plays on the radio. There's a whole bunch that you got to do. A lot of musicians aren't even aware of, right?
Oh yeah.
And I was lucky enough to have that teaching.
Yeah.
Not a lot of these musicians here don't have, so I figured why not kind of help out a bit.
Yeah.
And that's how it kind of started, and now I'm doing like a whole bunch of stuff, and it's neat.
Yeah, it's cool.
You guys and bands from all over Canada, it's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for that.
So this next one's a bit of a fun one. What's the funniest weirdest thing that happened at one of your shows?
At one of our shows.
Yeah, I remember. Like, I was interviewing the band called Scenic Route to Alaska, and they were saying they played like a slow song, and there was these two girls beating the crap out of each other at the front of the stage.
The funniest thing. Oh, well, you go for it then.
I think we played at a venue in our hometown called Soest, which was called Artichoke. And and yeah, well, we played a very cool. Actually, two really cool things happened that night. Like one, there was this friend, David. He's like a really enthusiastic guy, especially when he had a couple of beers. He was like, so there was this guy who was announcing the bands, and it took him a little too long when he was talking. So he was like, "Get off the stage, you asshole!" And grabbed him, Aestrid, go. So he literally hit the guy off the stage. So that was funny. And we played a killer set. It was loud and fast and deep, and I don't know, a lot of stuff happened there. So at a certain point, we were wearing these kind of what you call them, jumpsuits kind of things, and like industrial jumpsuits. We were really into industrial stuff back then, and Ray stood up, but he was kind of warm, so he kind of pulled it off. So he stood up like, "Hey!" and his whole suit just dropped down. So he was standing there in his boxer, and then also Bo. Yeah, Bo, you tripped. I think you.
No, I stood on my one of my amps, and it fell over. So I fell backwards, and I pulled the curtains down. And then he stood up. Ray stood up, and he was standing in his underpants.
It was the whole. It
All
was
that in one show.
Yeah, it was slapstick. Classic.
So, what inspires you when you're writing your music?
Traveling.
Traveling?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, doesn't matter if it's a 1 hour car drive or. I cycle a lot, so that's it clears my head and ideas start popping up. Um, yeah, I think landscapes, so things like that, and personal life. That always finds a way. Like that's like one-on-one connection within this band.
So how do you guys like write your music? Do you do it like separate at home and just try to merge it together, or just like one person write a part and then you all build on it, or do you just jam out?
Usually the idea comes from my end. So it just starts with a core feeling, um, a few chords for like there are usually like 3 parts that I'm not labeling them yet as a chorus, verse, or bridge, or usually I already have a vocal line and a few sentences, and by then I take it to Ray and Urian. That's where they step in, and then it can all still change. So there's because that's one of the things that really work for us to um, give the randomness of things a bit more space. Because like the best ideas usually come from like little mistakes. So yeah, I think that gives a pretty good example of how we write our music.
Yeah. So social media is pretty important, especially for you guys since you're coming to other countries and stuff. So how do you see it affecting the music industry? Over to the social media man.
I think it's working out both ways, either bad and good. Since it's possible now for us to come over to across the Atlantic, not having a label, not having a booking agency, not knowing anyone in a certain city, just maybe you met them once somewhere and there's still people coming out to your show. So that's awesome, and I think if that works for us, that's totally cool. On the other hand, it's kind of difficult as well, because you get a certain image. People get a certain image of you. If you want it or not, they will put you in a small box that they think might fit, without even having to see you live. Or we really catch people when they see us live, and like the whole social media thing and the promotional thing is just something that we've been working on recently, because we thought it's not that important to us. It's not that important, but it's also it's not what it's about. It's just a tool, and we try to make good use of it, but we'd rather just meet people in person, for sure. Yeah.
So last question, do you have any advice for new musicians or people who are thinking of becoming musicians?
Oh yeah, my advice: record that shit, and make sure you get it out there at first, and then the whole strategic part about when to release music, and that'll come after. But if you start, and if you're just starting, just record it, go out and play some shows, and yeah.
I would say, don't put up borders for yourself. Like try to find where the music takes you, instead of deciding for yourself what you are going to make. Because if that's what you're doing, especially when you're starting to make music, most of the time you're inspired by things like surrounding you, and it's kind of easy to tell yourself, yeah, we're gonna start a punk band and play punk for the next 20 years. But I think if you just gonna start making music, and let go of that genre thing, just discover yourself, discover where it's from. Um, listen to a lot of music, not just. I mean, it will inspire you. Even though if you just like punk rock, you'll end up making something new instead of like chasing your own tail. And I think that's important if you wanna get. I don't. You wanna leave something that matters, or you wanna express yourself in a way that is you and not someone else's way. So yeah, I think kind of hard to explain, but
Yeah.
people might get it, especially if you're in that situation. You might get it.
Oh, yeah, they said it all already, but really embrace what you're making, and also learn to record yourself, because it's so cool. Like, even if it's the shittiest digital or analog 4-track cassette recorder, just like later on you can save so much money on spending on recordings. That's how we always have done it. That's how Jurien makes his living now. So yeah, go out to a thrift store or some electronic shop and just buy whatever you can afford, and a mic.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you guys so much.
Thank
Nice
Thank
to
you,
meet
man.
guys.
Yeah, man.
Good luck
Thank you
tonight
very
and
much.
tomorrow. I'll try and come up
So
tomorrow.
much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.